from Bahrain. Parliament meeting's been cancelled. Protesters there stopping the upper chamber, that's the upper house, members from reaching the entrance. Rallies have been held in key Manama locations, putting pressure on the monarchy to bring about change. Now, the King of Bahrain, King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, has reshuffled his cabinet and appealed for talks with the opposition. What about Tunisia? That's where it all started. Well, the protests there are continuing despite the end of President Ben Ali's rule last month. Demonstrators seen their latest wish fulfilled. The interim Prime Minister, Mohamed Ghannouchi, has resigned. But as Nadim Baba asks, will those who've asked for him to go see his replacement as enough of a change?
A surprise announcement as Tunisia's interim president names a new prime minister.
At this critical moment, in order to maintain our national interest and to ensure that the state is up and running with all its institutions, I requested Mr. Baja Qaid Sipsi to assume the office of Prime Minister, and he thankfully accepted this responsibility.
Al-Baji Qaid Sipsi is 84 and a former foreign minister. He served under Tunisia's post-independence leader Habib Bourguiba and under President Zine al-Abidine Ben Ali. His appointment came hours after interim Premier Mohamed Ghannouchi unexpectedly stepped down.
I am not prepared to be the person who takes decisions which result in the loss of life.
The move comes at a tense time for Tunisia. Sunday saw new clashes between protesters and security forces in Tunis. Several people have reportedly been killed on the streets of the capital since Friday. Mohamed Ghannouchi took over as premier on the 14th of January after President Ben Ali fled to Saudi Arabia following weeks of protests. Critics say that since the Jasmine Revolution, there's not been real reform, and Ghannouchi's replacement is unlikely to change that.
He's out of touch, he's out of time, he's belonging other generation. What the Tunisian youth need today, who someone will be able to represent them, who someone will be able to respond to their legitimate demands.
Mohamed Ghannouchi has repeated the government's pledge to hold elections by mid-July. But almost 200 people have been arrested over the weekend. It's not clear how far the new Prime Minister can quell the anger on the streets. Nadim Baba, Al Jazeera.
An Iraqi court sentenced a former British security officer to 20 years in jail for killing 2 contractors. Danny Fitzsimmons is the first Westerner to be convicted by an Iraqi court since the 2003 invasion. He was found guilty of murdering 2 of his colleagues in 2009. The 30-year-old said he acted in self-defense. Here's Jane Araf.
It's a fascinating case because you have to look a bit at the circumstances, and part of the reason why the court here decided that they would be somewhat lenient, if you will, was that he has a troubled background. This is a former British paratrooper who was about to stand trial for assault, had a rather troubled background when he came as a security contractor to work for the Armour Group in Baghdad. Days after he arrived, he got into a drunken brawl and shot 2 of his co-workers and wounded an Iraqi. Given that, it's very difficult to make the defense that he was completely innocent. Now, the wider picture of this is the first trial of a Westerner and the first trial of a security contractor in an Iraqi court since Iraq gained sovereignty. And it's a bit of a test, if you will, as to how Iraqi courts will treat these people.
Scores of people have been fleeing Côte d'Ivoire's main city despite the presence there of UN peacekeepers. More fighting between forces loyal to the incumbent president, Laurent Gbagbo, and those backing the opposition leader, Alassane Ouattara. The UN's Human Rights Agency says between 20 and 30,000 people have left just one district in Abidjan. New Zealand's Prime Minister says the country is facing a repair bill of around $15 billion after 2 recent earthquakes. Last week's quake in Christchurch killed at least 148 and 50 people still missing. There have been funerals for some of the victims. Large parts of the city have been reduced to just heaps of rubble. It isn't just there. I mean, it's all over the world. It seems to be going crazy, Steph, doesn't it? Steph's our senior meteorologist here, and that was, earthquake there. What about landslides in South America.
Flooding this year has been terrible, particularly for South America. Many of the countries, particularly in the West, have really been hit very badly. Here are some pictures that we've got from La Paz, the capital. I mean, imagine if you woke up and that was your house, just about perched.
Step out to go and get a newspaper.
Well, you're luckier than your neighbours, I'll give you that much. And there's more rain still to come. So let's take a look at the satellite picture then across South America, and you can see there's two main areas of cloud. The first one is in this southeast corner around Brazil. The satellite picture's a little bit jumpy, but you can also make out this area of cloud here along the west, and that's what's really causing us the problems, this area of cloud in the west at the moment. It is the wet season here currently, but we wouldn't expect it to be this wet. More heavy rain is still forecast as we head through the next couple of days. You can see that rain also extends all the way down towards Rio. To the south of that, though, it should be dry for Tuesday. Now up towards the States, and we've also had some severe weather as well. This area of cloud is the contrast between the really very warm air in the southeast and the very cold air to the north. And where they join, it really does explode the weather. So more wet weather still to come. And we have seen some tornadoes out of this cloud belt as well. This whole system slowly will slip away towards the south. So by the time we get to Tuesday around lunchtime, it should just be over Florida. And behind it, you'll notice a dramatic change. It will be an awful lot colder. Washington, D.C. this time only topping at around 9 or 10 degrees, so an awful lot colder. And talking about chilly all the way across Europe, it's pretty cold at the moment. -12, the top temperature in Moscow, and only 7 in London.
Still ahead on this hour in this Al Jazeera News Hour, we're going to tell you who did well at the Oscars and who left empty-handed. And how about this? There haven't been many ties in the World Cup, or so many runs scored in one day. It's happened. They know who's won, and some have got their hankies out to cry the tears that mean they haven't got their Oscar this year. The 83rd time it's happened, and who has won? Al Jazeera's Rob Reynolds reports.
And the Oscar goes to The King's Speech, Ian Canning.
The story of a stammering sovereign won Hollywood's top honor Sunday as The King's Speech scored Best Picture. Colin Firth's performance as a king tormented by a speech impediment and self-doubt earned him the Best Actor Oscar. The film world's shining stars and lesser lights strutted down the red carpet in their best tuxedos and most glamorous gowns, despite unusually chilly temperatures that set many bare shoulders shivering. This year's Best Actress award went to Natalie Portman in Black Swan for her compelling portrayal of a ballerina pushed over the edge of madness even as she achieves an artistic triumph.
This is insane, and I truly, sincerely wish that the prize tonight was to get to work with my fellow nominees. I'm so in awe of you.
A gritty boxing film scored an Oscars 1-2 punch as both Melissa Leo and Christian Bale took home Oscars for Best Supporting Actor and Actress in The Fighter. The warmest applause of the night was showered on Portman. She fell in love with the choreographer on the set of Black Swan, and they're expecting a baby boy this spring. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera, Hollywood.
Who's winning in sport? Who's taking home the trophy?
Well, I'll tell you in a minute. Well, the West Indies are facing the Netherlands in the second of the 2 Cricket World Cup group matches on Monday. Both sides are looking for a win after losing their opening matches. The West Indies were put into bat and smashed a total of 330 for 8. In reply, the Netherlands are 34 for 3 off 8.1 overs. In the early game on Monday, Zimbabwe thrashed Canada in Group A by 175 runs in Nagpur. Zimbabwe batted first and hit an impressive 298 for 9 of their 50 overs. In reply, Canada never really got going. Ray Price taking 3 wickets for 16 to help bowl them out for just 123. Well, India and England's cricketers played out a sensational match at the World Cup on Sunday to bring the event well and truly to life. India set England a winning total of 339, and the game went all the way to the very last ball. Andy Richardson reports from Bengaluru.
It was the match all India seemed to have been waiting for. The co-hosts taking on England, and a feeling this tournament was now really lifting off. Indian fans hoping their side could take another step to becoming the first team to win the world title in front of home support. India batted first, and once again it was Sachin Tendulkar leading the way for his country, easing his way to a 47th one-day century. He scored 120 as India took control. MS Dhoni and Yuvraj Singh then paired up to inflict yet more damage on England's attack. England did hit back with late wickets, but India's total of 338 looked formidable. In reply, England captain Andrew Strauss looked more than up for the task. He settled in to score his first ever World Cup century. England in with a chance. Ably assisted by Ian Bell, Strauss's England were making India look old and ordinary in the field. But late wickets were then to tumble, England stumbling when in sight of victory. 14 were needed off the final over, 2 off the last ball, only 1 was scored, so the match finished in a tie. A pulsating game, finishing with points shared.
I think both the teams will be a bit disappointed, but still, you know, they will be a bit relieved to take 1 point out of which, because I think both the team in this game, you know, were facing defeat at a point of time.
We've got to celebrate the fact it was an unbelievable game of cricket. You know, probably the best advert for 50-over format you could possibly get. So, you know, some great performances on both sides. Both sides will be, you know, partly happy, partly sad.
Right off the 50-over game at your peril. Only this format can produce the ebb and flow of momentum and tension we've seen in this match. India's bowling looked as fragile as their batting looked flawless. England will feel they should have pushed themselves over the winning line. One thing's for sure, this Cricket World Cup is well and truly alive. Andy Richardson, Al Jazeera, Bengaluru.
Going on to Spanish football now, and Valencia remain in third spot after coming back from a goal down to win at Athletic Bilbao. Bilbao took the lead through their highly rated striker Fernando Llorente. 26-year-old adding a few more zeros to his club's $61 million valuation of him. Valencia didn't respond until the 71st minute as Juan Mata completed the flowing move for the equaliser. And with 9 minutes to go, they had the winner, new signing Jonas, making the final score 2-1 to Valencia. Fourth place Villarreal snatched a share of the points at Racing Santander. It didn't look good for Villarreal as Racing's Giovanni gave the home side a 2-1 lead midway through the second half. But deep into injury time, Villarreal's Brazil striker Nilmar silenced the crowd as he bundled home from a corner to make it 2-2. Villarreal remain in the 4th Champions League place. In England, Birmingham City won their first domestic trophy in almost half a century thanks to a shock victory over Arsenal in the English League Cup final. A goal in the last minute giving them victory in a dramatic final at Wembley Stadium. Guy McCree reports.
The first major silverware of the season in England up for grabs at Wembley. And few observers gave relegation-threatened Birmingham City a hope against Arsenal.